Hello, my friends, my lovely, adoring people who listen. Hello, I am Grumm, your purveyor of all things dorky, and thank you for visiting me once more here on the dork side of the ring. It's good to have you, good to see you. Well, not see you, but feel you. I feel you. I feel you, my listeners. I feel you. Thank you guys for checking out yet another episode, episode 4. Thank you for the feedback, for the month. We've been doing this a month. This is a month now that we have been doing Dork Sides, and it's been a thing, and it's been a lot of fun, and I am happy to say for a month we've been uploading, which it's not the longest podcast project I've done, but it is the latest project I have done that is a podcast and has been going for a month weekly. This is good. I like it. Thank you guys for hanging out. It is good to have you. Thank you for following me on Twitter, following me on Instagram at DorksideRing. It is good to see people there. I just got done a stay-home vacation where I just was, off things for like the whole week, which was pretty good. I would highly recommend that. But that's why if you were like waiting for videos or stuff, they didn't come. I do have some stuff, but I just didn't post them. Bad job by me. When you're, early and take you'd think, oh, I'm home, I'm not working, I can do that. You do what you want to do, right? When you're on vacation, you take a week from work, you do what you want to do. I wanted to sleep and relax, and that's what I did. This week on the podcast, we have my friends Empyre and Rawb. We're talking about the Goon. It's the first character. That we talk first gimmick, I should say. First gimmick. And it is fitting that I grabbed two Canadians who, hockey big in Canada, right? Oh, yeah. I mean, the NHL is based in Toronto. This is well known. Everybody knows this. But they're two funny guys, two of my good friends. This one is a little less about we end up not really talking too much about. I mean, we talk about the Goon, obviously. We make fun of it. But we also just talk about wrestling. And the two of them not being super wrestling fans, it's interesting to listen to them talk about wrestling. And Rawb or Empyre say something and go, well, yeah, that happened. And then learn some of the history of the more behind-the-scenes aspects of pro wrestling. So without further ado, let us get into this Dork Side of the Ring episode 4, The Goon, with my friends Rawb and Empyre. Go home. Do the finish. Do the thing. We're back on the Dork Side of the Ring. Again, it is me, Grumm. This week I'm joined by my two friends, two streamers, two memers, two good friends. I'll introduce them first. Rawb, how you doing, bud?
Hello.
And also joining us is my friend Empyre. Hello, bud.
Hey, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. Oh,
good.
Good. So this is
Good.
Everybody's good. This is good.
Yeah, that's good.
It's good. Everything's good. Pyre, since we introduced you for last, we'll get you to introduce yourself a little bit more. Tell the people of the Dork Side who are visiting the Dork Side as well as you are, but a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a variety caster now on Twitch, and I have been for 5 years. That's basically it. Like, that's my whole spiel. Is I play video games and make dick jokes for a living.
It's not a bad.
And I got birds.
And you got birds.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I got birds. That's the whole thing. Yeah.
You go live. I tell dick jokes. I play a video game, and my birds make noises and whatnot. Yeah, I think I heard them in the background there. Good old.
Yeah, that's all the bases. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard them too.
Oh, wow, interesting. Rawb, tell the people of the Dork Side a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm a 15-year content creator, which means I've been making internet memes as a job for a long time. Stream on Twitch, do things on YouTube. Mostly I'm a community leader now for a lot of roleplay communities is my main focus. So just generally creating fun things and arts and memes for the internet,
Beautiful. Look at that. That's the difference between a 5-year content creator and a 15-year. He's like, hey.
I did
sure
another
is.
podcast yesterday, so
Yeah.
I had prep time.
It's
I,
fresh for him. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fresh for him.
I just had to say something similar to this.
Yeah.
So it's,
Well, see, I like to go into these with my brain turned off, and just whatever comes out of my mouth is what you get.
That's dangerous.
It is very dangerous.
I should
That's how I roll.
I should let the people know.
That's what you need to do, though,
Yeah.
Grumm. You need to be able to do this, turning your brain on, or else you can't do this job. Like, if you have to be spun up every single time, you can't
Yeah.
do it. You got to
Yeah,
be able to
that's
show
fair, yeah.
up and be like, what's going on? What are we talking about?
All right.
Wrestling. All
Yeah.
right.
All right, I fucking love wrestling. Hell yeah.
Well, all right. So here we go. Let's talk about wrestling a little bit. Rob? What's your What's your background,
background in
with
wrestling?
pro wrestling?
Okay.
Yeah, if any.
So, in high school, I did some wrestling.
Oh, like the
That's
amateur, just amateur wrestling.
I've never seen a WrestleMania. I've never seen anything actually pro wrestling related.
Okay.
I've probably played a few video games, so I understand basic mechanics like be a dude and throw other dude out of the ring. But sometimes throwing them out of the ring doesn't even mean they're out. I think.
no,
No.
this is true.
No,
Yes.
sometimes it's just to throw them out to get a chair, dude.
To get a chair or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. I know the
I
role.
don't know what the rules are of wrestling. I just
Yes.
imagine somebody
Yeah.
says I give up and then it's over. But there are no
so
rules.
like
sometimes,
the
yes.
thing with the thing with the rules is like if you come back into the ring with a chair and you hit the ref, the rules no longer matter. I've seen
Are there
This
rules
is
in
there
pro
is yes,
wrestling?
yeah, there is.
No.
There's like
Can I hit someone with a car?
no.
Um, what size is
hold
car?
On, hold on. So it's funny that you say that because my favorite thing in the last year has been during a Falls Count Anywhere match where there are no rules other than it has to end with a pinfall or a submission. Everything else goes. Somebody hit the champion, who's a bad guy, hit the good guy challenger with a golf cart.
Okay. Now you say I can win by submission.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So what if I in the middle of the ring set up like a little application booth and then
Nice.
role play with the other wrestler that they need
No.
to send their wrestler submission for the fight to start.
yeah.
And then they sign a piece of paper that says they submit. Does that count
Boom.
when I become the
You know what? It's interesting. I don't know. I feel like
If you get the other wrestler to accidentally sign or accidentally submit via a meme, does
That's-
that count? Could you become the pro
Look,
wrestling champion? of
there
the world?
has been some very interesting ways to get somebody to give up in a match. One
I don't
time,
think fans would be happy with that if they showed up to a wrestling match. And someone made them,
They're just
signed a
doing
piece of paper
paperwork.
and tricked them. It's like apparently so and so submitted. There's
so
no
like
match.
that would have been a good. Honestly, that would have been a great like shtick for like the tax attorney wrestler. There was a tax attorney wrestler named
Oh
Irwin R. Shyster, literally who went by IRS because
Oh
everybody
my-
hates
perfect.
taxes, right? So, but like it was around the time we're gonna watch from our stuff. So like a lot of the ideas of some characters were like, you know what I hate? I hate the tax guy. I hate doing my taxes, and I hate the guy who makes me do my taxes. I hate the IRS. There it is, IRS. There's our next villain, right? Like, that's kind of how wrestling kind of is, just simple like that. But no, I've seen people give up a match in exchange for some women of the night.
Okay.
I've seen people.
Whoa, wait,
Yes.
what? You've seen them like just be like, I don't want to fight anymore. I'm gonna go hang out with the babes. You've seen that?
So there's a wrestler by the name of the Godfather, and he would offer women in exchange, or hoes in exchange for wrestlers
There's
giving
a
up.
lot wrong with this.
Correct.
It feels
Oh,
problematic.
absolutely.
What
He
year
would-
was this?
This was
happening?
1998, 1999,
Oh, it was a
2000.
That
different
doesn't
time.
even make it better.
No.
This
This is at the peak of pro wrestling's popularity in the mainstream. Yes, it's
God.
yeah. The Godfather would pimp out his hoes to wrestlers. His finishing move was called the hoe train.
Oh my god,
The
that's perfect.
hoe train.
Okay.
The hoe train.
And how does that work? Does just a bunch of ladies come out? on the train?
No,
trample him?
he would. So you all right? So like you'd be in the corner, like dazed, like ugh, I'm getting my ass beat, and he would be on the other side. And he would like start prepping himself, and he's like be like a choo-choo train, and then he would just run and throw his entire body at you, and that's it. That's the hoe train.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there
So
were
he's
no
the
hoes
hoe.
involved.
No hose
in the whole
involved.
train.
No, not
No hoes
not on
were
camera.
harmed in the making of the train.
Yeah. But yeah, there's been other times where like somebody they gave up a match because somebody like dastardly bad guy was going to like maim and kill quote unquote innocent bystander. So they gave up the match without actually being in like a submission maneuver. There's been other ones, like, then you have submission maneuvers, like somebody's choking you out, you tap out, stuff like that.
I have a stupid question.
Go ahead.
Was that their names or was that just the classification? Because I don't know with wrestling. That could have been their names.
What?
Dastardly bad guy,
No.
innocent bystander.
No, that's just the character, right? That's just the
Okay.
character.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I didn't.
So Pyre,
Yeah.
what's your background? Do you have any more than I mean, from the sounds of it, you know a little bit more than
I
Rawb.
do actually. I have fond memories of being like 7 or like 6 and like chilling eating corn pops, watching wrestling in tidy whities,
Mm-hmm.
and then proceeding to use those moves on my cousins. Like
Classic.
like instead of like throwing them into a turnbuckle, you throw them into the arm of a couch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
So I do have like some fond memories of like WWF,
Gotcha.
like back in like late or early 90s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Interesting. Because that's kind of where we're at. We're early to mid 90s with today's topic.
I was a big Hulk Hogan fan.
Big Hulk Hogan fan. Hulk Hogan, brother. Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. So what made you like? Did you just grow up and were like, oh, wrestling's not? Because if you were watching it back then, like our age, that's prime. You're a couple years older than me.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah.
that's the Attitude Era. That's Stone Cold Steve Austin turning into the beer drinking, finger flipping, boss beating up like hero to the working class hero. You have The Rock, Godfather's there, Val Venus, the porn star. Yeah, that's interesting. I guess if you fall off like right before then, you don't care because you're just starting. Like it.
Well, yeah. Well, I even went to like a wrestling match. I was really young. I think I was like probably like 5 or 6, and my dad took me to a wrestling match, and it was like I remember it being a lot of fun. Like it was really cool, but
Gotcha.
it just never stuck.
Interesting. All right. Well, that's okay. Is there any, like have you ever like wanted to like get back into it a little bit or no?
I will play wrestling games whenever because
Gotcha.
I just love wrestling games beyond like anything else. Making the characters and like just absolutely destroying someone, like doing flips off the turnbuckle, and it's like some wild shit happens and fireworks go off. You're like, that's fun. That's just fun.
That was the good stuff. That's the good stuff.
That's the good stuff.
All right. So you guys are both Canadian. I should preface that, and that's why I picked this topic for you guys today.
Oh.
So I know this because I talked to you guys about this, but the audience may not know that. Were you stereotypical Canadians who played hockey growing up?
I sure
yes.
wasn't. Oh, I did not expect that. Okay.
Yeah. I played hockey from grade 1 through. I played all the way until we started to do hitting, checking. And then I remember I did tryouts probably in grade 8 or 9, and I got checked from behind and got a concussion. So that's when I stopped playing hockey.
I mean, that's fair.
I got taken out. And then after that, I played roller hockey pretty much all through high school. So
Gotcha.
Huh.
And then you didn't play hockey at all. So Pyre, you've just always been video games and dick jokes from day one.
No, I played every other sport. I played football, boxing, baseball.
Wait,
I did all sorts of sports.
also played these other sports. I played baseball, football.
you're
My mom
doing
played
didn't let me
lacrosse
play
for a
video
bit.
games.
You're doing-
I wanted to, but
you're doing box like all right. So you're boxing as a child.
No. I
Oh.
boxed.
he was 5.
I always go back to 5.
The undergrad. Yeah. No. Well, he really.
I had Rock'em Sock'em, like the boppers, the big gloves that you put on, blow up. Yeah, and you just beat the shit out of
Yeah,
somebody.
you're
Yeah,
in,
he
you're,
had one of those
you're in
little
kindergarten.
clowns.
There's an under
Punch
like
in the clown.
I was gonna make a joke about like a schoolyard like boxing ring, but in Philadelphia there was a daycare who literally would set up kids to fight each other, and the workers. it's so fucked up, but like it's fucked up, but it's funny.
That's amazing.
It's so fucked up. It's like All right, so they literally would
They had
have
a
Fight Club.
children fight club.
Yes.
My bet's on little Jimmy. $5 as he knocks his
Don't
teeth
tell
out.
mommy, daddy about Fight Club. That's the one rule about Fight Club.
Yeah.
You know what the second rule is, little Todd?
Keep your hands up at all time. There you go. That's right, little
No
Todd.
rabbit punches.
No punches below the waist.
Yeah, no,
So-
I boxed through high school.
Okay. All right, so you'll relate to this guy then, even though you're not a hockey guy. But Rawb
Yeah.
is a hockey guy. So imagine, if you will, Rawb, you had been so good at hockey, you were able to, make it to the NHL, but you were just too violent to make it to stay in the NHL.
That's not true.
He found out after one concussion, dude.
Yeah, no. Also, think about if you're too violent for them, but you're also violent for every other league in the world. Where do you turn to?
Lacrosse or rugby.
Lacrosse
or rugby. How interesting, because one man,
Wall Street. Might want to go to Wall Street, maybe.
Yeah.
One man, his name is the Goon. He decided that he would go to the World Wrestling Federation, and we're
That's
gonna
a very
watch.
classic hockey name to use, by the way.
The
Just
Goon, yeah.
Goon.
So we're gonna watch.
Yeah.
Goons are like that in old school hockey. You had goons on the team.
Oh,
You had
yeah.
players who
Goons
weren't
and
good at hockey.
enforcers.
Yeah, enforcers. Their job in hockey is not actually to be good at hockey. Their job is to go up to people who are good at hockey and be like, hey, and then bully them the whole fucking game. That's like an enforcer's job, is to be a bully.
Yeah. So we're gonna watch a little bit of the Goon. We'll be back after this. We'll probably be laughing because it's just outrageous, and we'll make fun of it some more. So we'll be right back here on the Dork side.
Yeah, Macho Man here. Yeah, I'm doing Grumm a favor. Yeah, reading a 5-star review. Yeah, here's on Apple iTunes. You want me or Dusty? Yeah, to read one and do yourself a favor. Yeah. Leave yourself a review on the Dork side of the ring, a 5-star. Leave that review and then me or Dusty will read it. Yeah, yeah, we got this one from TP David here. Yeah, Grumm is a true encyclopedia. Yeah, of wrestling knowledge. Yeah, that Grumm guy is pretty nice. Yeah, with terrific comedic chops and is worthy of a follow on all media platforms. Like here, it's I Am Grumm. Yeah, but Dork side of the ring, Dork side ring. Yeah, it's also the one for the podcast. Yeah, This podcast brings out all of that together, yeah, for a genuine fun time. Yeah, fun! How dare you, suggest that this is fun! This is real life, my friend. There is nothing fun about this. Oh, yeah, it's all fun. Never mind, I'm getting the producer note. Yeah, it is fun. Between him and his litany of pals. I like that word, litany. Yeah, litany. Like a litany of championships, Yeah, if you want me or Dusty Rhodes to read your review, leave it in the Apple Store on the Apple Podcast, a 5-star, leave a review. Me and Dusty will do it, yeah, dig it, yeah.
So that's the Goon.
He's missing a number, right? Like he just, why didn't they give him a number like 00 or 66?
Because they gotta put the name on the back, and it's just the Goon. He doesn't play for a team. He plays for himself. He plays for the WWF, pal.
The thing is, on jerseys, they usually have your last name, and then below that, they'd have a number. So they could have had Goon then a number.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely could have.
They needed his position, but like it could have been just like an anarchy symbol, right?
So
like, dude, or if he changed position, if he came out and every week, and this time he's a forward, and then some weeks he's a goalie, so he comes out in full goalie equipment, just full body armor.
Oh, it'd be so good.
So good.
Something's different about the Goon today. It's his position.
Oh, it looks like he's playing.
He's got
playing
more
defensively
armor
today.
He takes things more seriously because he's got the goal stick. He's got the goalie stick. Like, oh, he's really gonna bash this person's brain in. I
can see it.
So
that goalie glove, you just grab their head, you just start punching the body, man. Just keep their face in the glove.
Yep.
I can see the move.
Look, see, like maybe they fucked up by making the Goon only be an enforcer. They should have like maybe made him like be all like. Could you imagine being a coach? He's a
Mr.
coach.
Hockey.
Hey, like as a
yeah. Mr.
Hockey. He comes out in a suit.
Little hat and whistle.
He comes out as a ref and then beats up the ref because they're both in a ref out like uniform.
Right.
Oh, that would be good too. If one day there was like a WrestleMania, right, and the ref was the enforcer, and he's pretending to be the ref until mid-match.
Yeah, and then he just turns around and just fucking decks somebody.
Has that ever happened?
Oh,
Grumm?
yes,
Has the ref ever been a secret wrestler?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's been a secret wrestler. A couple times.
Or just been the ref's been a wrestler.
Yes,
Has the ref ever jumped
there's
in?
been special guest referees a lot where it's like so there, which is always which is funny because sometimes you see like somebody pretending to be the ref, like they go and they're wearing like an actual ref shirt and they're wearing ref slacks and they're wearing ref shoes and they're fully committed to the bit. Then there's other ones who are like Stone Cold Steve Austin, who's like, I'm just gonna rock my t-shirt and jorts. Like that's what I'm gonna wear.
Okay.
Like I'm gonna look like
that's what I like to wear too.
I'm gonna look like my normal self, my day-to-day life, and I just won't wrestle. But I still, I'll just make people like. There's one in was that 2007 WrestleMania 23. It was Vince McMahon versus Donald Trump in a Battle of the Billionaires. But like they had wrestlers representing them. And the losing wrestler would have their billionaire's head shaved. Because so the whole idea was like, oh, Donald Trump's hair is immaculate. Oh, wouldn't if he lost his hair, if he lost the match, he'd be bald. Donald Trump would be bald. And Stone Cold Steve Austin was the referee for that, and he was just Stone Cold Steve Austin, like minus like drinking during the job. But yeah, we watched.
Seems less fun.
Yeah, a little bit, right? Yeah. So we watched the Goon. As you guys, we can tell, a lot of takes, a lot of interesting jokes about the Goon. The first thing you guys both noticed about the Goon was his footwear.
Yeah.
Where he had
the skates. Yeah.
The skates.
Yeah, I'm doing quotes. The skates.
So I remember when I first saw it, I was like, are they boots that are narrower in the foot? And
really? So you didn't understand they were skates right away?
Look at this Philly boy.
Look at it.
That was one of the funniest parts of the bit because how he's running around on the stage. If you've ever worn skates, that's what it's like when you're not on the ice.
Yeah.
You feel like a penguin or something trying to walk around and you're about to tip over.
You don't get that sweet heel toe action.
Yeah, and like I couldn't figure out the physics of his boots, right? I couldn't figure out if like he had boots that had like underneath like rubber soles being like extended and narrowed for like the skate effect, and I'm like that just seems like you're gonna break an ankle. Like that
that is what he's doing. Like like when you're off the ice, you can really hurt your ankles by walking around on skates. Like it's so easy to twist your ankle or something. So that's why I noticed it right away because I was like, damn, he's really committed to this. So because I know he's just performing, but he's running around on something you could easily twist your ankle. Like. He's walking around on chopsticks, walking around on a thin. It didn't look like a blade, but it's a thicker
blade.
It's tapered down. Yeah,
it's a thicker blade.
So
it's a dulled down blade or something.
I think what they did though was they took regular white boots and they built out on top of it so that he wasn't walking on. Like I think the first one. Like the first match that we watched, which was I guess his debut, where they talked about him and they're like they have the fucking hockey promo where he's like, look at him skating around and look at him what a body check. Oh,
look at him high stick somebody behind the neck.
Slash it. The trip. Oh, he's an evil man. The Goon is. It's just like, but I think after that, what they did was they got, because I feel like a couple of the later stuff we saw, it was like a boot. And then they like put more boot on top of the boot so that it looked like
like a Halloween boot.
Yeah,
like where they put the boot cover. Right?
Yeah, and like to make it look like this way without like same effect visually but not like physically, which I guess is good because I don't imagine that being A, comfortable or B, safe to wrestle in.
Oh, that would be incredibly dangerous.
So
it's like, all right, he's the Goon. We gave him some skates and like those little like rubber skate guards over the blade. It's fine. Just let him go.
He's fine. He'll be all right. He'll be all right. rub some dirt in it. He'll be all right. I think the best part about this though, for me was like just the sheer joy of the stupidity of this that you guys had, where you guys were like, "This is dumb. This shouldn't work. Why is he?" It's like all the questions of like that wrestling goes like, suspend your disbelief, and it's like I am suspending my disbelief. This still doesn't make sense. Why is he here?
Well, I mean, it is really funny to how do you say that? Suspend your belief.
Suspend your disbelief.
Your disbelief.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny to do on a guy who's theoretically trying to wrestle in skates.
Yes.
Because if you're standing in skates, a toddler could beat you.
Oh yeah.
They just ram you and you're gonna fall over, dude. Trying to stay balanced would be tough. This guy's trying to do full body checks while running in skates.
Well, I mean, you got that higher like center
really
of gravity.
Your belief.
You got a higher center of gravity, and you're standing on, like you said, chopsticks. Like you've got no lateral movement there at all. Like,
also, they're missing the one thing they were doing is they kept having him fight people who don't wear shirts. And the thing is, in hockey, the hockey fights are all about pulling somebody's shirt off them, because if it's, I don't know what it is, but it's like when you pull the shirt off them, it like reveals all the protective armor that you wear in hockey. And like jerseys, like it's kind of funny, if you ever put on hockey equipment, you look like a robot. You're like, you put on this, you put on this, you put on this, it looks so ridiculous. And then you put on the jersey and you're just like, nobody can see how ridiculous I look underneath all this stuff.
I'm a goddamn cyborg.
So in hockey, people love to pull that shit off people to just so, look at your naked your underwear, your hockey underwear. Right? And he didn't have that. He's fighting people who are already shirtless.
It's
and
a huge disadvantage.
He's already won.
Yeah.
You know, if you're fighting somebody without a shirt, in hockey fights, he's already won. So I think the Goon was just at a lot of disadvantages in his fight. He's to fight people with shirts on.
He could have just come out each time and been like, haha, I see your belly. Turn around and walk back in. Like he's won the fight.
He's already won.
I see your belly. I think it's also.
I like to drop the gloves too.
Yeah,
like he wears gloves and he throws them to the ground and runs at the people. That is iconic.
The bell rings.
Really
dropping the gloves is how you tell people in hockey, "Yo, we're fighting right now."
He's in the ring with the stick, and you guys like, wait, he gets to bring the stick with him? Like I'm sitting here like having to explain the rules. And like sometimes weapons can be allowed, but most times they're not. And like here's a guy who's facing a dude who's just in regular black trunks, and he's now going up against a hockey guy who's got a stick and gloves and protected padding.
Again, he really needs to fight people with shirts. One of the things he doesn't do in his matches is grab people by the shirt and then pull them into his fist. If you've ever seen a hockey fight, what ends up happening is the stronger player in the fight will grab one player by the jersey and just start swinging with their right hand. Like left hand on the jersey and smack, smack, smack into the helmet. You're trying to knock the helmet off the other person's head. But when he's fighting somebody with no jersey, already naked, no helmet, I don't know how you're supposed to do anything in a hockey fight.
Well, I mean, it's rope-a-dope, right?
The guy's naked.
Yeah, it's rope-a-dope, where you pull in on the jersey and punch forward, so you get like double the power, right? You knock the helmet off.
Fighting hockey players naked is how you win, really.
Oh, so that's how everyone wins, Rob. Everyone wins when hockey players fight naked.
It's the leverage of it, is that you get to pull your shirt down over somebody's head so they can't see you as you're beating the shit out of them and probably delivering uppercut. Like I liked.
Yes, and that's what was missing too.
That's what's missing.
He should have had an extra jersey and tried putting jerseys on people. And then once the jersey was on, the referees could be like, "Oh, this is bad. He's got a jersey on," and then he starts doing the rope-a-dope moves, starts pulling it over their head so they can't see. Oh man,
that would have been iconic.
There was a lot of potential should the Goon have gotten over as a baby face to go up to the bad guys and like pull the like their shirts over their heads and then just start beating them up in the middle of like an interview. Like it's just like
yes.
So, absolutely. What they should have had him at like every like event for wrestling, and he's just in the audience and somebody says something that he doesn't like and he runs in, throws the gloves and just starts throwing bombs.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
Middle of every match. Just
also, he's a great winter villain. You know, when the WWF starts coming around Christmas time, you start doing promos where like, you know, the wrestlers are with their families on ice and it's like, hey, come join us for WrestleMania 72. And they're just, it's all just pleasant. And then he just comes out and starts
swinging,
shirts off, starts beating children.
Yeah, he just takes hip checks a kid right into the boards.
Also,
beating the
I didn't see any clips where he was
Put a
put into
kid
a
in a-
penalty box.
Yes.
And I really
Yep.
feel like if you're gonna have a goon, the referee needs to give him 2 minutes for shit all the time.
all the time.
yeah.
All the time.
It'd be a
Mid-match-
great WrestleMania where he's like winning, and then the ref just says, "Oh, he's getting 2 minutes. 2 minutes
He's
for
gotta
high
go.
sticking."
He's gonna go
And
sit
there's
while the other
just
guy
a
recovers.
There's just a box for just him with a timer. Because the thing in hockey, what was great about whenever you would get a penalty is the second it runs out, you get to come back out on the ice.
You gotta go sprint.
So
Dude.
imagine if you put this wrestler in a box and just says 2 minutes. The second that 2 minutes is out, he's coming out swinging like every time.
I love
It's
the
a hype
idea of.
countdown.
I love the idea of what would happen during that 2 minutes because the other wrestler's just sitting in the ring by himself for 2 minutes recovering.
It need to be like a wrestler. It need to be more than 2 wrestlers.
So-
right?
oh,
It need
so-
to be more
Like a
than people
tag
on the
team.
field.
Yeah.
Like a tag team.
So-
Tag team would be great if he got 2 minutes. Then it's a 2-on-1 till he comes out.
Rob, you just described the premise to the King of the Mountain match in TNA and Impact Wrestling. So
Damn,
this
you're a pro.
So this match is a reverse ladder match. So the object of the match is to pin somebody, then take the world title, climb a ladder, and put it onto like the hook that hangs all the stuff, and then you win. So then you get to take the title off, climb back down, and celebrate that you're now the champion.
Do people kick the ladder ever? That seems really like OSHA needs to get involved.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
workplace
Yeah,
safety.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'll have to
Needs to get in.
I'll have to look. I'm gonna write it down right now. You guys are gonna come back for like a tag or a ladders match, a TLC tables, ladders, and chairs match, and you can see exactly.
wow.
Yeah, it gets messy.
That's not what I thought TLC was. I'm gonna watch that channel more often.
But no, the King of the Mountain match. When you pin somebody, not only do you get the world title and an opportunity to walk it up the ladder and set it to win, they go into a penalty box for 3 minutes.
Shit, and the Goon never made one of these? Like, he never made one?
No, the Goon was never.
Oh,
Goon was
man.
well and done wrestling by then.
How many times has he actually fought though? Like the Goon, how many
So,
matches did he have?
He probably had, as the Goon in WWF, he had maybe like more than 20, less than 40 on like
It doesn't
TV.
seem like enough.
Wrestling seems really hard of
Yeah.
a career to do well in, since basically, aren't you really just hoping the audience likes you? That's
Or
the goal, right?
dislikes
So-
you. Or dislikes
dislikes
you.
you enough.
So yeah, and that's
You
so
have to create motion one way or the
Yeah,
other.
Correct.
one or the other.
correct.
Yeah.
You have to be good enough to make people like you, or good enough to make people hate you, and pay separate their money from them to see the result of your match. And that's
Okay.
why like it's interesting. I like the two of you with your minds on content, and like the three of us, we were very much alike in terms of like, hey, people over content, not really,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
don't sell out yourself for content because it's a bad example to other people and everything. Wrestling is a weird mix of it is content over people, but also it's people over content because you have to do these things to make people enjoy you, have an emotional connection to you, so that makes the content thus better. And it's very weird.
Yeah, but I mean, the owners of wrestling, I would imagine, are just like, they give you a chance, and if you don't do well, then next.
For the
You
most,
come back
yeah.
as like not
That
the
is
Goon anymore.
That is
That-
content over
correct.
people to
Yeah.
begin with.
Correct.
I would imagine wrestling if they had just found like 20, 30 wrestlers that all vibed, and they just kept developing together.
So-
just endlessly,
Yeah,
you know?
that'd be kind of cool.
So-
Because I
Yeah,
bet you,
yeah.
I just not knowing about wrestling, you can
Yeah.
tell me if I'm close or
Go
not, Grumm. I bet you some of the best wrestling performances, WrestleManias, have to do with long established relationships between
Yeah.
wrestlers.
I bet tag team matches like that where it's like the tag, like this is a dream team tag team combo.
So
They've been
Or
friends,
was it
like,
just a
since the
novelty
birth.
of people never fighting together? It was just,
So-
is it because the audience could be content over people and just we want to see what we want to see? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
the greatest WrestleMania, what is regarded as the greatest WrestleMania, is WrestleMania 17 from 2001. It is effectively the greatest like piece, like single night of wrestling where every match hit, every promo hit, the build-ups were hitting, the production was on, and it was at the end. It was in the middle, but it was we thought at the time in the middle. It turns out it really was at the end of the Attitude Era, where everything was hyper aggressive, professional, competitiveness, where these guys came together under the, hey, like, we're working for the WWF and the WCW is trying to put us out of business, so we're gonna just make the best wrestling that we can, tell the best in-ring stories that we can, tell the best stories we can, produce the best television we can to not be put out of business, and maybe we'll make a lot of money along the way and buy our competition. So it's a weird, like, right now I would say a lot of wrestling is more exposed in terms of like the behind the scenes of like, oh, those guys are friends. I like their tag team because those guys are friends. Or
Right.
I like that match between these two guys because they have history of being friends on television and they're still friends behind the scenes, but now they're enemies at the same time because the logic goes, if you're friends, you go at each other harder because you know you guys are both on the same page. So it's kind of like
correct.
Yeah.
So like,
I mean, you can't perform with somebody you hate.
Exactly.
Not even in. Well, sorry, I guess in wrestling you
yes,
can, but
yeah.
to me that is some content over people
So-
thing. You know, because that's two people that hate each other actually hurting each other.
Yeah.
For what reason? For
So-
us to enjoy?
For us to pay money for.
That's
Yeah.
MMA at that point, isn't it?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
the story, the number one thing that I think of is Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, and these are guys who had very parallel careers, where not at the exact same time, but they followed each other's steps. Where they came in as a tag team, they were the better performer in the tag team. They split up and they won like the mid card, the secondary title. And they were pretty good, and then they got the world title, and then they were at the same level at the same time of being really good wrestlers and being over with the crowd, being well liked or well hated, and being marketable. And their professional jealousy got into their personal jealousy because at the same time they're being professionally combative and competitive, they're taking things too far or taking it too serious, and this is why I kind of like say wrestling is at its best when no one takes it serious, because what could have been years and a decade long of a story of these two guys basically going, no, I'm the best of my generation, no, I'm the best, resulted in them making snide comments about each other in front of the television, insinuating marital affairs.
I was gonna say that's what I was gonna bring up. Didn't one of them sleep with the other one's wife or something like that?
So
or was that a different story?
It does involve Shawn Michaels, but it turns out it was a lie where he slept where he was having an affair with British Bulldog's wife, who is Diana Hart, who is Bret Hart's sister.
Is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
there it is. Okay. I knew there was like something there.
Shawn Michaels had insinuated on live television that Bret Hart was having himself some sunny days, which implied that he was having relations with the wrestler known as Sunny, who was at one time the hottest woman on earth, the most downloaded woman. Or like back when you would you download the photo and it would go line by line when you're downloading the photo.
Oh yeah,
right on your computer.
You get your eyes. You're like, oh yeah.
Who am I googling?
Yeah, I googled it right now. Hold
Sunny,
up.
Sunny, just Sunny. It's WWF Sunny.
Tammy Lynn.
Is that Sitch, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was
Yeah.
she's problematic in and of herself. But back then, it's wrestling. Not much is known about the performers. Everybody is what you see on TV, which creates interesting parasocial relationships because it's acting. But when you see Roddy Piper, you don't see Roderick Toombs, you see Roddy Piper. So when you go up to him, you go, "Oh my God, Roddy Piper!" And he's just like, "Man, I'm trying to fucking eat a steak. Like, leave me the fuck
right." Yeah, exactly. It's that familiarity.
So
right?
Bret Hart gets implied that he's having an extramarital affair with Sunny, which then pisses his wife off, and now he's mad at Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels has his guys, and Bret Hart has his guys, and in the middle of the guys who are like, guys, can we just fucking make money? Like you guys are really good, and you guys are really over, and we could sell a lot of pay-per-views, sell a lot of tickets, sell a lot of merch. High water lifts all ships. Like, come on, guys, stop fucking up the bag here. And it culminated in 1997 when Bret Hart, who had just been given a 20-year contract by Vince McMahon, basically a year into it goes, I can't give you that much money. We're broke. I can't give you that. And which might have been the truth, might have not been the truth. So he said, you know what, go talk to WCW about seeing if the deal's still there because I want to do right by you. Like if that deal's not there, then we'll figure something out. But that I can't give you what they were offering, let alone the thing I'm giving you. So, can we go back, see if it's still there? If not, we can do it. It's obviously still there because he's top 3 wrestler going at the moment. Montreal, Canada. Bret Hart is Canadian. So much Canadian motifs.
Yeah, we invade everywhere. Dude.
So at this time, 1997, wrestling is USA versus the world because Bret Hart is like, fuck America. And everybody's like, yeah, fuck America. And Americans are like, hey, fuck you, pal. And so Bret Hart would literally go, and because Bret Hart was over in like Germany, David Hasselhoff is the #1 celebrity or world celebrity in Germany.
In Germany,
Bret Hart's right behind him for some reason. Like Bret Hart is just insanely loved by the Germans. So naturally, he was well loved by other international countries as well. So when he's talking bad about America, everybody's like, "Yeah, Bret, you're right. America does suck. Fuck America." Like I'm on Bret's side now. When I was a kid, I probably wouldn't have been, but I'm on. I see what he's got issues with. I see it.
Yeah, it's there.
So
I get it. Okay.
He did not want to lose in Canada. It was just he said, "You know what? I'm not going to lose in front of my home country. Like I'm just not." He's like, whereas Vince McMahon's like, "Dude, you're leaving the company like this week. I need you to lose the title. Just drop the title to him." He's like, "No, I'm not going to drop. I won't drop the title to Shawn Michaels." He's like, "Dude, it's a title. Just fucking drop it." And he's like, "Nope, not doing it." And where they're like, "All right, hey, Shawn, he doesn't want to lose the title here, but he'll lose it tomorrow night in Detroit." And he's like, no, he's going to lose that fucking title tonight. And then it goes back and forth, people riling both sides up. And the match is a good match. But Shawn ends up putting Bret Hart in the sharpshooter, his finishing maneuver. And Vince McMahon, who is at ringside, orders the bell to be rung, grabs the title, Shawn Michaels rolls out, they leave. And he effectively, legitimately, or in wrestling terminology, it's a shoot, made him, stripped him of the title, screwed him out, and it's called the Montreal Screwjob, which it gets.
That feels like a brand damaging thing to do,
right?
Yeah.
So
it would almost be better to just let somebody leave the company with the title and do anything else.
So
it really does seem that
so
way.
the problem,
You just have a story about how you're like, we don't have a title. It was stolen by the other league.
Yep.
So now we're making something better than a title, a trophy.
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah.
Tell it
you're right.
a story, Vince. Come on.
You're right.
Spin it, bro.
Vince was shook. This is not, he was constantly they couldn't win a fucking television it was called the Monday Night Wars. They can't beat WCW in the ratings wars because WCW is just putting out entertaining content and people are enjoying it.
Don't beat them. Be second.
Correct. Yep. Except,
why does everybody need to be the best?
Exactly.
If you're able to do your shit, just enjoy the moment, man.
Right, and it wasn't like WWF was going down the shitter. They were doing very well. They just couldn't do as well as WCW.
Who cares?
Ego.
Who cares?
Correct. Ego.
Oh, these dumb
correct.
boys.
So
dumb boys
earlier,
You could have better WWF content, see, but they're all cared about being number one for some reason.
Look, there were some really good Steve Austin was incredible. They also had around that same time the wildest story that I could remember for some time, which was the Undertaker, who everybody thought was just a dead man, like a literal dead man. Turned out he's not a dead man. He's a guy who.
Whoa, hold on, Grumm.
Yes.
So technically, Bret Hart still owns the title then.
No, because the bell
Did
rang.
he ever actually lose it?
Yes. So Vince was afraid he was going to show up with it at WCW and throw it in the trash can, and you go, that doesn't seem
that would have
like
been good for them.
Yeah, it would have been.
That's the problem. it wasn't good for them when their WWF Women's Champion showed up on WCW Nitro and threw her title in the trash can because it effectively killed the entire women's division. Because to the point where Vince did not have a women's champion for 4 years almost.
I think Vince just needs to be more creative in his storytelling.
Hey, you're not wrong.
The title doesn't matter. It's just the audience perception to the title.
Exactly.
Okay?
And they did do that later.
Vince just needed to come out with a video that's just like, good, we've managed to get Bret Hart out of the league, and he taking the loser's title because we are about to introduce the realist. Like, he just needed any type of story.
But do you know what's funny?
Right?
Is it 100%. So he did that. By doing this, he created the most evil character of all time, which is Mr. McMahon.
Vince McMahon.
Exactly. He goes, I didn't screw Bret Hart. Earl Hebner didn't screw Bret Hart. Bret Hart screwed Bret Hart. And it's like, whoa, no, fuck you, pal. You literally rang the bell and made this guy, stripped him of the title. Just might as well just stripped him. You screwed him. And he's like, no. Bret screwed Bret. And then at the same time, you have Steve Austin becoming a working class hero.
But is this Vince McMahon? Is this actually a character that got developed or a character that was leaned into because of just bad?
No.
Leaned into.
This was him making the most of it. Where it's like,
oh
wow, like people hate Vince McMahon now, and they're like, hey Vince, people hate you. You should be television. You should be amazing. He's like, no. I'm an announcer. Like I'm not the owner. He was very. Like you heard him on the call for that match with the Goon. He wanted to only be seen as the announcer, Vince McMahon, the announcer, not Vince McMahon, the owner of the WWF. Because people are like, no, Vince, everybody knows you're the owner. Like you literally were sued by the U.S. government for steroids, and I won, pal.
Prove it.
Well, no, he was. They're like, you're the owner. And he's like, no. The wrestling audience doesn't. It's like, dude, you were
the second he put himself in front of the camera, he basically set himself up to be a big piece of the puzzle.
Yeah,
exactly.
So he ended up, it all worked out for him, right? Like so in a sense, wrestling is one of the only forms of content where you can personally hate somebody and still work with them to make good content. Because that match that they had and the story that they were telling was good, and they couldn't stand each other. But because the way that wrestling works, and it's so fucked up.
I disagree, because that is not a story. That is just a real
just a
life
grudge.
thing. That's just actual drama.
Oh yeah,
that's basically the equivalent of the Kardashians,
or
but
Jerry
the wrestling
Springer
version.
Yeah.
If it's real drama, if it's not a show, then it's just children bickering. Ultimately,
No, you're not wrong. It's
big beefy steroid children.
So big.
Adults don't do this. They do it in a show.
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of adults might, but this is the behavior. Most adults go, yeah, but you shouldn't do that. That's children do that.
Yeah.
And revenge is something we teach kids that it's like, this is a childish behavior. You don't actually seek revenge. Okay.
Yeah.
We now watch 15 Disney movies about why revenge is bad.
Yes.
So when you're an adult and you're like, no, it's my title. Hell, he was going to throw it in the trash can. I understand if you're a giant wrestling fan, if you're immersed in the world, how much you might put this thing on a pedestal. Mm-hmm. Now, 180 this, and if I say, he stole my World of Warcraft character, that was my most important account. There's a similarity of the obscureness.
Correct.
They brought it over to Final
This
Fantasy.
thing doesn't mean it's more important than the people,
Yeah.
Like maybe Bret shouldn't have done this thing where he's throwing all of his old friends under the bus, joining a league to throw the title in the garbage. Maybe he shouldn't.
He did claim that he would never do. Like he was gonna be like, look, if they couldn't figure out,
he claimed he wasn't going to do it. Yeah, so we don't even know.
Yeah, so it's one of those things like, was he going to do it? Well, he says he wasn't going to do it, but also,
but like he could have wore it in, gave it a little kiss, laid it on a chair, gone in, kicked some ass, came back out, put it back on, left.
Yeah, and it was a very, or you just vacate the title, and be like, I quit.
Yeah.
I don't want to be. You know what? Here's your dirtbag
Yeah,
title.
make a thing out of it.
Grumm,
Yeah.
I want to challenge you on the fact that the women's wrestling league dissolved because some the other league like threw it in the trash.
No, it looked.
Was that really the reason? Or was that the reason they gave everyone?
Was it bad storytelling?
No.
Was it just they weren't
It's
able to make money off this, so they just was like, well, this is the thing we'll blame it on because everyone will be
damn, garbage cans foiled us again. Right?
Like if you're already having a struggling league, this seems like a good way to pull your league.
So they had a very marketable champion, and they were bringing in women's wrestlers from Japan because Japan is historically had some incredible female wrestlers.
Oh yeah,
cool.
So they brought it in, and they were doing very well, But it's 1994, 1995, 96. Female empowerment in sports and combat sports isn't what it was today. Nearly, they thought about.
Of course.
So okay, she's marketable, but for a woman. And it was, hey, she's going to be the forever champion. She's going to be forever champion. And when she left because she's like, all right, so I want you guys to.
So that it is their fault though. They didn't really invest as much storytelling in the female league.
Correct.
They literally used the female league to be like, here's our women's champion. Yep. We have a female league to have one women's champion. So every now and then we can have a man versus woman fight at our WrestleManias. Like again.
Oh no, they never. No, they never.
This is the woman's champion cheering on this man fighting for a championship. Like
no, it was
90s, right?
she was presented as a legitimate wrestler in her that could hold her own amongst the other women. Problem is, women's wrestling wasn't where it is today, where there's countless you can argue that there's WWE has too many women for the amount of time they allocate, and thus they should allocate more time of their product to the women's wrestlers because their women's wrestlers are as good as the men. There was one or two American women who could, entertain the people because the majority of your audience is men. So she had to look good and wrestle good. So, and she naturally was
they all have to look good though.
They all have to.
Yeah.
Even the male wrestlers that quote unquote don't look good, they all have uniqueness to them. That's one thing I've noticed about wrestling. Like if you look at these mug shots, you go, whoa, that's someone. Well, that's a character. They're all GTA characters. Yep. They're all very unique people in their looks,
Absolutely.
Well, they have to be marketable, right? They have they have to stand out.
You have to
differentiate yourself.
It's the airport rule. You have to stick out in an airport. How many people do you see in an airport? But you see a pro wrestler and you're like, who the fuck is that? Like, dude, that guy's Bill. Or damn, that guy's huge. Or holy shit, she's got charisma. Like,
or look at that hair, dude.
Yeah. Like, oh dude, look at that guy. Look at that guy's hair. Or like, oh dude, look at that guy. That guy's scary looking. But yeah, no, it's one of the it's a like so like they say that it effectively killed it because they put their hand up like they weren't that dedicated to it. So when they see that their women's title is in the trash can on their competitor, and everybody's watching that, you can't bring out a new title and go, hey, we don't have a women's championship. It's because everybody's smart enough to go, yeah, it's because the previous one threw it out and you don't have anybody as good as her. So now what? And like, so it's a little, they failed.
What type of contracts did they have that they would be so blindsided to lose an employee while they're wielding a contract? I would just make it so in your contract, you're not allowed to do this.
Oh, yeah. Now,
put a stipulation.
You have a final performance clause. If you are leaving the company, you must do a performance to lose your titles. What do these guys do? They need to actually get a lawyer. What's going on here, Grumm?
Okay,
well, they had a wrestler doing all the
let me tell you about
this is a basic role play storytelling development you would have if you're a multi-million-dollar company.
Let me
What's
tell you.
What's going on here, WWF?
Let me tell you about how the mid-90s of wrestlers leaving when they're so basically the way that wrestling's contract would work back in the 90s, you'd have a contract for X amount of days for X amount of years, like appearances. You would have to show up for 200 appearances every year for 3 years.
Okay.
You'd have to quit. You had to either just quit, but then you don't get your money that you're owed, or because you have a guaranteed downside of, hey, if you do 200 appearances this year, you'll make, 300 grand. And like, that includes this. You don't get, if you negotiate it, you might get merchandise, percentage of your merchandise, or, other stuff. Or other amenities, but really it's a basic, you work this much for this.
These guys are taking the merchandise, so they're smart enough to take the merchandise of their fighters, but they're not smart enough to build contracts that make it so their titles don't go in the garbage. Today alone, you've explained 2 times the WWF has potentially lost titles because their players just bounce, so they don't have any control over this.
Because How is in the 80s when the WWF became a national product and not just a regional one where everybody else had region. You had your AWA, which is, the American, like central, like Minnesota, Chicago, Illinois, like Michigan, that area. You had Georgia Championship Wrestling, which is down there, Mid-Atlantic. It's like Maryland. You had, Florida. You had all these places, right? Vince McMahon said, I'm going to just buy up all the talent and put them on national television. And I'm going to turn the lights on in these places, and we're going to be filling massive arenas. And people will go, I'm leaving this rinky-dink territory where I'm traveling, 5,000 miles a week for the same 7 shows. And now I'll just go wrestle for Vince McMahon, make more money, wrestle similar amounts of times, travel more, but I'm on national television, bud. I'm going to be great. So WWE, for its first 10 to 11 years of being a national product, no one ever just left. You didn't leave at the height.
So they just weren't thinking about it.
Correct.
Yeah, it was,
we'll
worry about it later.
That's mind-boggling to me, though, dude.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
millions of dollars,
that is still
man.
mind-boggling to me.
Because it's
even the projects I've done on the internet, trying to get people to come in and out, it's mind-boggling.
I'd make a contract for fucking $200. Like this is millions of dollars going around.
So they so the way it would work is you'd have your agreement, you'd sign your contract, you effectively become an independent contractor. That's all wrestling is. You're an independent contractor. But
there's their fault. They should have had employees.
Correct. But do you know what you have to do for employees? You have to provide them extra benefits, like health insurance.
But Grumm, it's very simple. You just make the employees the ones that are allowed to win. Duh.
You just beat up contractors.
Since you're picking the winners anyway, basically you're a loser until you work for the company. We like you so much that we want to start giving you titles.
And see, that's an interesting way to look at it, because for me, they should just be there's no wrestling union. It's not just
Probably
WWE.
one, maybe.
Yeah, they don't make for example, this past year during the pandemic, a lot of wrestlers got into Twitch because now they have a lot of free time on their hand and they have a lot of money to buy really good equipment, and a lot of them like playing video games, so they stream. Well, the thing about being a public figure, specifically in wrestling, is you will find a lot of devout, hardcore followers of you simply because you're a pro wrestler, especially one of WWE stature. And if you're a female, like Thea Trinidad or Paige, who's on Twitch as Soraya Knight, you're going to make incredible money because now you are you're making yourself more accessible than you were before. Which, you're an independent contractor. You have every right to use your image, right? If you're not saying you are somebody, that you're not your television.
They don't own it.
Losing all, so they've built up all of these stars they don't actually own, and now all the stars are just going, I got the brand power.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Except WWE technically does, because nobody has ever really taken WWE to task on, hey, where does your IP start? And their human, because WWE basically says, hey, this person you see on television physically is the same person you see on their own computer screen streaming. So our IP is indistinguishable. Therefore, we as a company have to be able to protect our IP, and thus you cannot just be doing these count as advertised appearances that you make money off of using our IP, which is against the terms of your contract, which you're now in void of, which means either, get back in line or no longer have a contract.
That's a dumb way to evolve your company.
Very scummy.
You're making the people who make you money, and by the way, control all the power of your brand. It's the wrestlers that control the brand, right? Like people are still fans of the old wrestlers,
Yes.
the diehards.
To an extent, there is definitely, once you get out of the bubble of WWE, if you stay in wrestling, there's another company called All Elite.
Basically, you'll shed fans, is what will happen.
Yes, yeah. Like you lose,
Exactly.
you lose
Because
that exposure.
entertainment is entertainment, and so if you, for example, if you watched this one sport athlete for 20 years, 10 years, 15 years, and you developed a parasocial relationship because you followed their career, you watch every match. If they get dicked by the company and then move on with their life to something else, you might still stay with them.
Yeah, you'll
Correct.
move with them.
Yep.
Exactly.
Your money is no longer WWF money. It's now, I'm supporting this. Well, artists. You're watching WWF players evolve into artists.
Yeah.
Because they already were.
Yep.
It's a performance, so it's art.
Yeah.
You got it.
And like that's kind of what's happening, right? Is like it's akin. What is happening now is because there's now an alternative where, the wrestlers can go work somewhere else, make comparable money, while having far more creative freedom over their own being, and they can appear at other places without like needing approval. So, like,
Man, I think they would have learned the last time to not let people throw titles in the garbage.
So, but that's the thing
right?
is,
Imagine.
the people that are leaving aren't at the top of the level. They're not world champions.
Why would they?
Why would they? It won't be the top. The top is being fed.
Correct.
The top
Exactly.
is
You don't bite the hand that feeds you, dude.
But if you lose the bottom, who does the top? New bottoms,
but
I guess.
Yeah, right?
Exactly.
People,
It's a lot easier to add somebody to the bottom of your tier than it is at the top. And also, if you add somebody new, boy, they might become the new top. Because
that's true.
So from a cost effective, rather than losing the top level talent to your competition, they're now losing middle of the tier, potentially top if everything goes right. But like a lot of these, acts and these wrestlers are mid tier because they've gotten over, but one or two things happened to them. They got hurt.
Ego, man.
It's 100% ego. It's
100.
I would love to see a wrestling league that is like 100 wrestlers. Okay, they're all hyper passionate about it, amazingly talented, and they just build relationships with each other, man. And I'd love to see what those matches then look like 5 years, 10 years.
See, that's what this new company is. All Elite Wrestling. It is a bunch of guys who were wrestling together in Japan, and they were getting over. They had a YouTube series that was getting over, and people were big fans of them and whatnot. They got a guy who is the son of a oil baronsman from the Middle East to basically own or to front a company, and they now tour. And basically the idea is, hey, we're the alternative. We're all working together. We're different. We're not a corporate structure. We're not ego based. Except there is like one or two guys that are ego based. It's kind of hard. It is human nature after all. And
it's given what the performance is. It's a very ego-based performance,
correct,
right? The goal of wrestling is to win.
Yep.
But I mean,
so
wrestling is just ego-based in general, right? That's
yeah.
what's presented. Yeah,
yes.
it's always about ego, and it always has been about ego. It's like I'm the best in this field, and that's what you go into every match with.
Imagine though if you had a league of wrestlers where everyone was just people over content playing to lose. That's a league. Because
the Canadian Wrestling League, dude.
When I say playing the league, I don't mean like they're actively trying to lose in the match. I just mean at a mental state, they don't give a shit about winning. Winning is effort. Winning is oh, now I got to deal with the spotlight.
Yeah.
You get people that realize the spotlight ain't that great if everybody is just collectively growing together anyway,
It's fair.
If you share the spoils of what is, because the thing is, at no point did they really need to like buff everybody up. They could have just been more of a company about it if they really wanted to. I don't know, man. It is the 90s, dude.
Yeah.
Trying to make money.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It was the 90s
Yeah.
and the 80s.
And the 2000s.
80s, 90s.
And America. like just at any point
yeah,
in time.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah, I don't know, man. They could have stifled that greed and just made fun times.
I mean, look, a lot of the wrestlers back then talk fondly about the time that they had, mainly because they made the best money that anybody really ever made. So
Well, yeah.
it's one of those things of like, well, what happened? Was it fun and you made money, or was it fun because you made the money?
Well,
And like some guys are saying, like, look, I had fun regardless. Like, like, and you can always tell because
Performing is fun.
if the wrestler is still doing it into their 50s and 60s.
oh
and
yeah,
they're
I love that shit.
right. Like, yeah, those guys love wrestling. They love performing. They love being out in front of people. They love pro wrestling. There's guys who are just like, I liked pro wrestling. I love it. I just don't love it like I used to because, hey, man, I've had to have a hip surgery. I've had to have a knee replaced.
Yeah.
I've had to have.
Yep.
So, like,
Yeah.
And no benefits as well.
like
So.
what's interesting is guys like Scott Hall or Jake Roberts, who are guys who were notoriously self-destructive with their drug addictions to the point where people are like, when are we going to hear about them ODing and dying? Are now they're much better. They're sober. They're living life. Their head is straight. They're enjoying wrestling for like every aspect of wrestling without having to, dull their pain with medication and to get to a point of being fucking addicted to it. And like those type of guys, you can tell like, all right, they love performing. They're over here. They're talking to younger guys, trying to give them advice, pick their brain, offer their own like, hey, like instead of doing 70 flips in a match, why don't you do like 7? So you make them mean more. It's like, yeah. So it's kind of like when we talk about like Grand Theft Auto role play between ourselves of like, yeah, you can rob 7 banks in one day, or you can spend the time you would have on those 6 to role play about the 1. And it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I want to step back and make sure anyone listening knows that a lot of respect. I don't want to. A lot of the things were like taken apart, and I don't want anybody who's like super knowledgeable in wrestling to be like, these schmucks don't know anything. You're right. We don't know anything.
We don't know a goddamn thing.
I love to look back and reflect on the way content was created in the 80s and 90s, and really just ask, how can we as people do it better? Mm-hmm. Because for me, content ultimately is just it's comfort for us. Yep. It's nostalgic. Yeah. It's something we use to relax after we've done our work and we need to vibe. And from my entire life making content and looking at the way a lot of corporate content is made, it's very evident that we treat content over people. A lot of the time we make it so people have to suffer to make fun times for us. And then a lot of the times what happens is those fun times get canceled or fall apart, or the artists implode, and we go, damn, our favorite thing fell away. Why? And I think it's because of the way the sausage is made.
Honestly, it really is. Yeah.
That's for me. It's just like, okay, how can we now collectively as people make better sausages so those sausages last forever? Because I would imagine any wrestling fan wishes they could have lived in the timeline where their favorite wrestlers had the longest careers possible
and the least injuries
and the least amount of injuries and the least amount of real drama, storytelling that amazes you and creates those moments in your life you don't forget. You could remember that Friday, that Saturday, that Sunday. Those are what you care about, So I just want to make sure that nobody's too upset if we've been kind of poking at how they made their sausage in the 90s.
No, but go ahead,
it's what you're talking about with those moments, right? It's like in 1998 when The Undertaker threw Mankind off of the Hell in a Cell and plummeted 16 feet through an announcer's table. Anybody who saw that would remember it forever. It's one of those like iconic moments.
That's what got me into wrestling.
Exactly.
Was what is this content? It was basically as a child going, what is this? I want to watch more of it because I watched somebody fall from the sky twice.
Magic.
And live.
Yeah. You watch something that for them is average, is something mundane. They can know they practice and do every day, but to you is magical.
Yeah. It's extraordinary. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I like when I started watching wrestling, like I know people are like, yeah, I watched that and then I watched wrestling later, like, and it wasn't the same because like, well, when you see a guy be thrown off of a 16-foot cell and then chokeslam through the 16-foot cell onto a hard ring. A standard like arm drag and drop kick and like a rock bottom, they don't necessarily compare. But like for me, it was the idea of watching these people somehow every week coming out and after
pushing themselves
after they fought each other for 15 minutes the week before in brutality and come back a week later and they're barely scratched up and you're like, these people are not real humans. Like these are not human. And
Step aside, American Gladiator. Look at these guys.
But he's really not, right? So, like, you know, Mankind, Mick Foley, falling from the sky, going through a table, and without a crash pad, without going over it multiple times, he literally was just like, all right,
dedication.
Throw me like
Commit
this,
to the bit.
And I'm just gonna hope that I tuck my chin and rotate. And basically,
that's such a commitment too.
It really is.
It does really open your eyes, though. Like, once you've done something like that, how does anything else compare? And then you're constantly chasing after that next big content thing, and that's how people get hurt,
right? And
that's
like it's very like, and this is why I like. This is what I was looking forward to with having the two of you on, is because I know you guys aren't the biggest wrestling fans.
No,
but like again, the way we look at content as an industry, with the two of you guys being full-time streamers or content creators. And then me doing it as a hobby and obviously, you know, looking at it the way I look at it is like wrestling is this weird, like everybody has to work together to tell the same story. But the story is that one person wants to win. The other person is going to lose. And I'm going to physically make you lose. But at the end of the day, you walk back a curtain, dap it up like, hey man, good shit. First round's on you. You won. Hey, you're buying the first round at the bar.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
you got the prize. Yeah,
it's like all right. It's like okay, that's very interesting, how that works, and then basically going like in real life, that's kind of what you try to do. Is if you're a decent person with average level of empathy, you're trying to win.
Nobody wants to lose,
but without making somebody else lose.
That's the thing,
right?
Yeah. There's a lot of people in life right now because of just what the way capitalism works. That people try to win via other people losing, and then basically tried to make excuses about why that's okay.
Yeah,
if you do something and someone else is losing for your victory. It's just a greedy victory, man.
Well, it brings me back to what Grumm said earlier, man. High water raises all boats, and why can't more fields go into things with that kind of understanding?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like pro wrestling and streaming are very similar.
Grumm ain't paying me an Empire.
I beat the shit out of Rawb. I will fucking people's elbow this motherfucker.
but Empire, Grumm ain't paying us. We're here because we love and want to support Grumm and his.
I love Grumm
and his creative project, And
I was like, Rawb will be there. I can't wait to hang out with Rawb too. Like this is gonna be great.
If Grumm was doing this and it blew up and was the biggest podcast in the world, Grumm, I would wager that you should not keep trying to shoot for the biggest moment where you have to throw a guest through a table in order to do your job.
But he could though. He could
enjoy life.
No, absolutely.
Those moments, I've always said that what you want to do is you want to perform at your minimum effort most of the time.
All the time.
Every now and then, whenever you're rested and ready, you try your hardest.
You pull out the big guns. Yep.
That throwing through that table, that's great if you do it every now and then. But if every week you got to throw a man through a table,
maybe change your job. I don't know, man.
And people's shoulders are breaking and concussions. You got to step back and be like, we're performing too hard.
Well,
we're going too hard.
That's the story of like pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Is that in the 90s they were 100 miles an hour 100% of the time. Stone Cold is driving out with a Zamboni and running on top of it to clothesline Vince McMahon. He's driving out with a beer truck to shower the ring with beer. He's filling up Vince McMahon's Cadillac convertible with cement.
Yeah, a lot of this sounds fun, though.
Oh yeah,
It
it is.
It does. It really does.
The thing is, this doesn't sound like the same thing of throwing somebody through the table and breaking their shoulder.
No, but it's,
like
it's
the idea of a Zamboni every week. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, right.
But it's still
and then I hit
diminishing
him with a stop
returns.
sign and fucking
Like,
broke his jaw.
is.
Like,
It
yeah.
is
it's diminishing returns on a different level.
Well, it's
Yeah.
sensitization, right? It's desensitization.
because
where you
wrestling-
see
It
it
makes
so
it so
often.
when you do a match where you don't bring out a Zamboni,
They're like,
it's
oh,
boring.
It was a boring match.
And that's
yeah.
kind of where wrestling had been for the last probably 15 years now, which is everybody going, man, the Attitude Era was great. Every week something happened. And it's like, yeah. every week did something. But also, every week the thing that happened might have been a porn star having relations with a man's wife to the point where that man, who is Japanese, did a stereotypical Japanese accent and was like, I'm going to choppy your pee-pee. And then they chop his pee-pee.
Oh.
That was a story they did in the 90s.
Oh. Yes.
Oh, the 90s.
Or-
This is the problem when, yeah.
Or or maybe it's a
That
week
sounds like a bit they thought of on Tuesday. And we're just like, let's do that this
And
weekend.
they're like, yeah, this weekend is
or
great for that. Yeah,
or there's the guy who goes by Sexual Chocolate who cannot be satisfied by any woman except a 70-year-old woman who cannot be satisfied by him. Ha ha. Oh wait, she's pregnant now.
Oh.
And she gives
What?
birth to a hand.
These are like, I mean, it's still a better love story
I don't
than
know the lore.
Twilight, but like, I don't get it.
I
like,
don't know
that's-
the lore.
Yeah. So like this is the idea of like, like yeah, something happened every week. But not everything that happened was good. Like a lot of that
But
stuff
Grumm,
is
there's
we're going to
another-
talk
there's
about the
another
dork
thing to
side.
this. Grumm, there's another side to this, and this is what I would. And any wrestling fan who's been watching for 10, 20, if they've been watching since kids, I would want them to be fully aware of
Oh,
the
yeah.
nostalgia effect.
Yep.
No matter what happens now, sorry, it's not going to be as good as what you saw as a kid because you're not a kid anymore.
If
It
you're
doesn't
watching
matter
it,
if fucking The Undertaker just comes out of nowhere. He looks like he's fucking 30 years old again. You're like, what the fuck? And he throws 4 people through Teslas. There's just a row of Teslas, throws a body through 4 windshields into the ring. Okay? That you'll still go, it didn't tickle me in the way
wasn't the same.
93 match did.
No.
It's just, there's no way. That's the nostalgia effect.
Do you
And
know-
the problem with our nostalgia is there really is no counter. There's nothing you can do. You can be aware of it, but even when you're aware of it, you're still going to be like, I'm going to go watch the old YouTube video. I want to see it
that's
again.
exactly
There's
it. Yeah.
nothing you can do.
If you ever find yourself sitting there going, "Oh man, it was better back in these days," then you're victim to
That's
nostalgia.
lost.
nostalgia.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
I'll use an example. Recently, there was a match. It was a triple threat match between 3 big, meaty men. And I was effectively calling it Hoss War number 2. And I was showing people it, and they're like, what was Hoss War number 1? And I showed them what Hoss War number 1 was. And they're like, holy shit. Like, this was good, but the thing that we just watched was, like, better, though. And I'm like, yeah, it is. But I can still effectively go, like, I loved the first one because it was the first one. It's these guys, it's big, meaty men doing what big, meaty men in wrestling. Like, the reason why I like wrestling. I want to watch guys who are no shorter than 6'4", weighing no less than 265, being big people and fighting other
just
big people. I
Just
want,
being large men.
like, the same reason why you watch Godzilla versus Kong.
I
To
was
watch
gonna say
Godzilla
it.
vs.
Thank
Kong.
you.
I don't watch
Yes.
it for the human element of it. I watch it for the destruction.
I'm like, man, there was a story to this movie. Shut up, fight more.
but like,
Dude, that's the other secret to all this is once you're aware of your nostalgias as you've grown up, you can go, wait a second, I can just join communities and like introduce people to nostalgias,
Yep.
kind of like what
Yes.
Grumm's doing.
And then they get to
Because-
experience it.
Yes, it's very fun to share your nostalgia with friends
Yeah.
and stuff. And guess what? There's communities for anything.
Oh yeah.
If you whatever you grew up on, there is a community of at least 50 people who vibe and want to talk about this all the time, you know.
minimum 50. Like you're absolutely right.
and it's just like one of the things of like, man, it is great to be like, for me, this is the most fun, is me showing my friends these dumb wrestling things, and then we just sit there and make fun of it, because while this is my nostalgia to a point, like I didn't watch the Goon when it first came out because the Goon
You fucking should have. He's amazing.
long live the Goon. It's a part of my nostalgia because I'm nostalgic to pro wrestling. So anything that happened that relates to pro wrestling, I'm nostalgic for. By definition of it being nostalgia, like, oh, I recognize that guy or I recognize that setting. Oh man, and immediately I'm taken there, right? And that's how you are with like, World of Warcraft. Like if that's your thing, and you see
any nostalgia you are, if you were a big fan of comic books and you only read these comic books, you still might be nostalgic to the other comic books you didn't read because you also saw them at the store and you never really got into them. But man, I remember the day when I saw that comic book in a store. Anything, dude.
Oh, 100%.
And like with the Goon, because I want to come back to the Goon because there wasn't. It's one of those things where he didn't last that long. Rawb, you brought up, you asked like he's not from Canada, and I said no, he's not. His name was Wild Bill Irwin before he was the Goon.
Okay,
Bill Irwin.
Wild Bill Irwin. He was 40 years old when he was there. By the way, he was a cool 40.
Ooh, okay. I wasn't expecting that. Well, I made the comment like he looks like someone's dad.
yeah.
Just like at the hockey game. Like
he born in Pecos, Texas.
Wow.
But he resides in Duluth, Minnesota.
Okay.
So I don't know at what point he got to. I mean, he was probably
Minnesota is very he probably grew up with hockey because Minnesota is a hockey state. So,
but he moved there after.
Yeah, so that's why I think.
But he grew up there young. Did he grow up there young?
I don't know. He just said that he worked.
Born there.
But he
Minnesota. Hockey is nostalgia.
Yeah.
And it would make sense that the Goon has a hockey nostalgia. I would imagine a lot of wrestlers are also use their nostalgia a little bit.
For their stage personas, probably.
To a
what
point.
They know, right? What they know.
So,
I mean, nostalgia affects all of us. It's kind of like the bread and butter of who we are.
So we were talking about Mankind being thrown off the thing. Mick Foley's the performer. He is best known for the Faces of Foley. He basically came into WWE as Mankind, this psychotic, masochistic wrestler who lived in a boiler room. And before that, he was known as Cactus Jack, who was this kind of wild man, like willing to do anything to get the win, to inflict punishment or to get the win. And that's what made him a good guy. He'd do anything he'd put his body through hell to win. As a bad guy, he'd put his body through hell to inflict pain. Very small, which is nuance. But when he got to WWE, they were like, man, like Mick Foley is an interesting character. But this Mankind character is kind of faltering. There's not much here. Hey, why don't we do like a sit down interview with him? Like just talk to him, and understand what makes Mankind tick. So they started to blur the line between the act of Mankind and the performer of Mick Foley, and they're like, tell me about your, childhood, Mankind. He's like, oh well, I grew up in New York and I've always been a wrestling fan and this and that. And they start taking this thing, and he would every so often come back and bring back some of that, like, hey, by the way, I'm Mankind, like I will choke you out with my fingers. And he talked about when he was younger, when he would do backyard wrestling, he wrestled as Dude Love. And it's the guy, it's Dude Love. Everybody love, all the ladies love, ow, he's cool. And because he's in the 70s, it's these psychedelic tie-dye shirts and whatnot. So WWE takes this. Go ahead.
Was Mankind the one that had the sock puppet?
Yes.
He was, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Mr. Sacco.
I was, okay, thank you. I was trying to remember who had a sock
Which
puppet.
Which Bo Burnham,
in,
you owe Mr. Foley some royalties, okay?
He sure does.
But he's the Dude Love. So they bring the Dude Love character and they make it so now it is his nostalgia, where it's just him doing the bit that he did when he was younger as a wrestler, but now being paid to do it, which I feel like is every artist and performer's kind of dream is, hey, this thing I was doing for free, I want to get paid to do it. But that was to another level, because it quite literally was the thing that he did when he was dreaming of being a pro wrestler. Now he's getting to do it. And he even said, he goes, it was cool, but the Dude Love character kind of sucked because it was very two-dimensional. His other characters were fine.
Because it's his first start.
Correct. His first start. It's his first love,
So, and that's why it's funny, hey, your nostalgia is great. But if you don't remove yourself enough from it, then you're not going to see its flaws. Like, he was nostalgic to Dude Love. That was his teenage and early college, moniker. and it was flawed. It was literally, well, what is the character? Well, he's Dude Love. Okay, what is Dude Love?
Yeah. Well,
girls love him. He's irresistible. And then as you look at Mick Foley, you're like, the women love you? You're irresistible?
which women?
Which women are we talking about? Like your wife? Yeah, no, she loves you. Absolutely. You know?
Absolutely. Unconditionally.
Porn stars? Yeah, because they feel safe around you. Yep. No, seriously. Mick Foley has a reputation for having because he is the guy that women are comfortable around because he's not threatening at all.
Yeah.
He is well liked, but it's very funny. Like, well, he'll be like, yeah, this woman who everybody regards as like the hottest woman. Yeah, she sent me. She would send me 8x10s to sell for of her to sell to people. Like she was like, oh yeah, Cindy Margolis, like noted, adult star. Yeah, no,
yeah,
we're best friends. It's like, wait, what?
That's ridiculous.
Which is funny to me, right? Like,
yeah, I love that for him. That's amazing.
So, but wrestling content in general is when you can remove yourself from the nostalgia, but you can address what worked with the nostalgia and where it faltered. Like you said, Rob, where you go, hey, the Goon, they fucked this up. They missed their opportunity to make him come out with wrestle only people who have shirts or just beat up people on the ice.
You said something, Grumm. You said it's like every artist's dream to build their nostalgia. In a way, I bet you that's true. Mm-hmm. But I mean, as somebody who's been doing art for 15 years and gotten to really, just build whatever fun meme show or internet game they really wanted to. Very, very lucky. Very privileged. I have no interest in doing any of the things I used to do.
Oh yeah, no.
I can imagine.
And what's amusing to me though is that I find that I get stuck in the opposite effect, where once you've built up that audience, you're their nostalgia. So it's cool that he got to be Dude Love, because I would imagine after being Maneater, some people might be like, oh, why isn't he being Maneater?
Yep.
Yep.
Why? Yeah.
Where's Man?
Yeah.
I don't like this character.
Yeah.
Where's Maneater?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
They would compare. They would compare his two different performances when they shouldn't be compared. This is just him doing his old love, guys.
Yeah. And that's the thing with wrestling is the audience is very smart. Like wrestling audiences and wrestling fans get dunked on, rightfully so, more times than not, for being bad smelling, booger eating nerds.
Fair.
They are for the most part.
I didn't know this. Is this what they get dunked
This
on?
is a common thing.
This is a common thing. They don't know. They don't wear deodorant.
Booger eating.
Because
not even with the finger though, just like tongue in the nostril.
It's basically the idea of like you have to be an idiot to believe that this is real. When it's like when you ask most wrestling fans, like, yeah, I know it's not real. I just shut the fuck up and watch it. It's the same way.
Yeah, but nobody ever said growing up that it was like role play or stories. No,
when you're a kid, it's a rite of passage, dude.
Yeah.
No, I really felt. Well, yeah, I always felt like they were trying to make it look real.
Correct.
And they were just, and like everybody's putting up the performance of like, yeah, it's real competitive to, almost suck in the uneducated.
You're
and I bet you there are some people.
I mean, think about it,
it was real.
Think about it though, like when you're a kid, like nobody tells you, oh, these are just actors. They're like, oh yeah, they're fighting, and this is all real stuff.
Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark. There's no difference. Like you don't go, that's Robert Downey Jr. No, Timmy, that's Robert Downey Jr. He also starred in this film. It's like, no, Tony Stark.
Pull up his IMDb, you little shit.
Is that like movie stars and stuff that go and do other movies and they become other different people? Wrestling, they usually just have one persona and this is what they're doing in their public life. It's pretending this thing is real. Nowadays it's not. Now it is a performance. Now everyone understands it.
Yep.
I don't think I think if you went up to someone and said wrestling's not real, everyone would roll their eyes like, good job, Timmy, you solved the puzzle.
Back in the 80s and 90s though, if you did that, I don't know if you did.
Oh no, a lot of people, because it was
back in the 80s and 90s, because it was so fucking over the top and violent and like always trying to outdo itself. A lot of people probably did think it was real in the 80s.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There'd be like, oh, that person, Ric Flair, yeah, he's everything that he says he is, and that's because,
that is who he is. He is him on TV right now.
Yeah, like, and it's very like the reason.
They
So
call it
it's-
the era of attitude, but it really does sound like the era of ignorance of the audience not knowing what the fuck is going on for 10 years.
well, so
Yeah.
Zambonis,
Long con.
everything.
So that's the thing is, it was the Attitude Era is in name because WWE literally said our programming needs more attitude, and we're going to give you that because they were at the
Okay.
time. So the Goon is peak like family friendly WWE. They're kind of
With high sticking. Got it.
they're presenting wrestling in a post Hogan world. Like Hulk Hogan is no longer in WWE during the Goon. He's in WCW now. In fact, he's in WWE. Like during that time, he's in WWC or WCW, and he's a bad guy. He's basically being like, I'm the guy who made you be a fan of pro wrestling. You fucking suck. You need me. So basically, doing a little bit of the is kind of meta of I'm the guy that put wrestling on the map. I'm the guy who's responsible for you paying to see me to this day. And like
Right.
you know, and there's other
mean,
stuff, and they're like
It's
That's
neat
an
how
iconic name,
artists
though, right?
always go meta.
Right.
Yeah,
Just-
well,
they can't help
that's it. Like it happens, dude.
So-
but like he kind of was like he was the face of wrestling for like a whole generation.
he for 2 generations.
Two generations, yeah, that's
like in the
yeah,
Attitude
fair.
Era in WCW. He's still the guy who's leading the NWO, and everybody's like, "Ah, man, I love the NWO. Yeah, New World Order, too sweet. Yeah, like, you know,
Yeah,
To
yeah,
those people,
yeah.
like, holy shit, like he was able to reinvent himself, and to borrow a term from Rawb, create another radical wave that took him even higher than he was before, because now wrestling isn't just this new thing that people are getting involved with. It's the 90s. No one's seen wrestling like this, where, you know, he's kind of dropping the whole Hulk Hogan act and kind of talking as he's Hollywood Hogan, and yeah, brother, I'm gonna go. He's not saying, brother, I'm gonna do that. He's like, hey, brother, hey, I just got off the phone with Hollywood, my agent. I'm gonna go. I'm about to be out of here and go film a show. I'll be back. By the way, I'm still the world champion. Like a lot of interesting stuff that was going on, but still kind of being meta and taking, because people loved wrestling, but they didn't love that wrestling was kind of quote unquote lying to them. Like, it was, which is a weird thing where it's just like, well,
So they didn't like it once they saw how the sausage was being made.
Yeah,
That's exactly it.
They loved the illusion of living in this world where all of these animated characters were real people.
Mm-hmm. And then
To
when
some
they
extent.
stopped enjoying it, they remade the sausage to be like, hey, by the way, like, Steve Austin, Stone Cold Steve Austin, yeah. No, he really hates Vince McMahon. Yeah, no, he hates Vince McMahon because Vince McMahon keeps putting obstacles in his way. Okay, well, why does he hate The Rock? Well, because The Rock is his corporate junkie. He's like, oh, I can relate to that. Yeah, no, I can. Yeah, I hate my
corporate
boss.
junkie. Yeah, I fucking hate my boss.
I hate my boss. Yeah. So it was no
Let's
longer.
go make sausage. Hell yeah.
It wasn't. Say your prayers.
There's a wrestler with a radical career, dude.
Who?
That guy got Dwayne the Rock
Yeah.
Johnson.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's
From
way
wrestling
more
to
famous
kids' movies.
after wrestling, and
Yeah.
he was
Well-
so big in wrestling.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just
He had a
so
bunch of
wild.
like shitty little roles in like The Tooth Fairy and like Disney
No, that
movies
was
and
good.
like
Yeah.
He was good in the Tooth Fairy.
oh he was great in
Yeah.
it, but like he had a lot of shitty roles. Like
Yeah, no,
the
he was like-
movies
he
were
wasn't he
shitty,
the
but he was
Mummy?
good.
They were all.
Wasn't he the Mummy?
He was in.
in,
The,
Yeah, he was
so
in The
his
Mummy.
first.
Yeah.
His first
Scorpion?
movie. Yes, he was
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the Mummy 2, Scorpion King. That was his first role. They were like
and he was all CGI'd. The
Yep.
whole entire
Yeah,
thing.
Yep.
the
I
whole,
forgot what he
the whole
did.
movie.
the whole movie.
They just took his likeness.
And then the second, and then his first movie was The Scorpion King, which is a cult movie. Like everybody's like, wow, like commercially it was not good, but they
it
did like
flopped hard.
it flopped hard, and they only made a sequel or a prequel to it because The Rock became big, so that The Scorpion King was now being rewatched because they're like, look at his first movie, and he's in the Walking
Yep.
Tall remake. He's in other.
That was a
movies.
good movie.
It was
he
a great
did really
movie,
good in that remake. Yeah.
And then they're like, you got to stop. Like like his agent, like, you got to stop wrestling. Like, you got a career here in movies, man. You got to stop wrestling, or they're going to just typecast you as this
Big dumb jock.
big dumb jock who kicks ass. He's like, but I am a big dumb jock who kicks ass.
That's
They're
what I
like,
do
yeah,
best.
but
Yeah.
you're also funny. And he's like, okay, fine. So he quit, and he like went on that string of making kind of like
hokey
comedies?
kind of films.
hokey films that would break his typecasting because you wouldn't just.
Yeah.
But then like he goes in 2011 he's in like Faster, and then he's in Fast 5, and he's just a big dumb kick-ass guy. Like
Exactly. So he's back to what he knows.
Yeah.
Like from his wrestling.
But he
days.
got bigger for it. Like all
Yeah,
these
and
movies.
like
No,
that was the
he's-
answer. Yeah.
He's only ever done, but the thing is, when he started doing the big dumb guys now, he's not dumb. Usually he's like charming
Yes.
and funny.
Yes.
Like the
Naive,
Jumanji
maybe.
ones that just
Yep.
came out. He plays as like,
Amazing.
he's big and strong, but no, I know my things.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
stuff, you know? What else has he been in recently? Isn't he in Mona? As
Yeah,
the,
Moana.
Moana. Yeah.
yeah.
Moana.
He's
yeah.
in Moana?
Yep.
He's in Moana?
He's Maui. What
Yeah.
can
Yes.
I
And
say?
he's great in
except
that.
You're welcome.
Yo, welcome. Yeah, he did really good in that.
Yeah, it's
Have you ever seen the movie? I think it's Pain and Gain.
yep,
I
with
think
Mark
that might
Wahlberg.
be my favorite.
Oh,
Dwayne The
with
Rock
Marky
Johnson
Mark.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it starts with them like
Running.
no, doesn't that movie start with him like cooking a hand on a barbecue?
Yes.
in,
Yeah.
like, an
Yeah.
igloo?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
pitch if you want to see this Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie. It's just Dwayne The Rock Johnson cooking a human hand on a
It is
barbecue.
fantastic.
that's
It's such a
Tony-
good
that's
movie.
the story.
It's Tony Shalhoub's hand too. Like that's the thing is Tony Shalhoub's the bad guy in the film. Like that
Yeah.
they didn't sell that hard enough. Be like, hey, okay,
They
so
really
it's
didn't.
it's Mark Wahlberg and Dwayne The Rock Johnson being meatheads on Miami Beach with Anthony Mackie who's trying to get big. Also, Tony Shalhoub is the bad guy. You're like Tony Shalhoub's the bad guy. Monk?
Yeah, Monk. dude,
Monk's
hell
the
yeah.
bad guy. Excuse me.
Hell
Hold
yeah.
on. I'm here for that.
I liked that movie a lot. It was good. It was
No, and that's like you know, with like the Rock had like it's a weird because then he came back to wrestling for like a couple matches, and because he's one of these guys where he loves like he's a third generation wrestler. Like his dad was a wrestler, his grandfather was a
Really?
wrestler,
Oh, I didn't know
his
that.
Whole childhood is wrestling.
his daughter's a wrestler. Like
Oh shit.
Wow.
like
Huh.
there is a lot of like love for wrestling in his blood, and he will always come back to wrestling, and it will always be home for him, which is good. Like for me as a fan, I'm like, yeah, I live in a world where The Rock will still show like that guy who I'm going to watch in the Fast and the Furious movie is going
It
to
is
be in
cool
this.
if he shows up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool
Like,
to respect your roots like that, because
Yeah.
like that was where he blew up. That's where
Yeah.
he like became a household name.
you know, and I feel like most guys, and like there was a time where I never thought he would because I was a bitter fan of like, oh, The Rock just
going
goes
to movies.
He's gone to movies. He's left WWE. He's left us, and he doesn't talk about WWE anymore. In fact, he just goes by Dwayne Johnson now. Like, what the
Yeah.
hell, you know? And then it's like, all right, stop being an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know.
You gotta grow up a bit and accept
He
that
actually,
the man's going on
he
doing
actually-
something else. Like,
Yeah, like he actually doesn't owe you anything.
yeah,
Imagine.
yeah.
yeah,
Imagine that a performer
you
who
and your parasocial relationship with Dwayne.
Yes,
not
I
The Rock
did.
Johnson.
Yes, I did. There's a lot.
No longer the Rock Johnson.
Yeah. That's my first parasocial relationship was to Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Yep.
You know that I think that is something that probably every one of us is guilty of.
Oh, yeah.
Using social media as a platform to just shit on how people live their life.
100%.
You know, I try to catch myself constantly, even with celebrities. You know, once they're millionaires, I don't know, we get to punch them more. I think that's the rule. They're
I
rich.
think yeah, they
But,
punch down, we punch back up.
but I try really hard to not, you know, I always understand people when they need to stop stuff. You know, like that's like if you want to look at wrestling as a big picture thing, it's a performance. These people are performers. They're artists. Hey, you know, there's a lot to be gained from Dwayne Johnson going and doing a bunch of big movies, getting even bigger, and then coming back to WWF.
Yep.
Because
Oh,
some
yeah.
people will be Dwayne the Rock Johnson fans or Dwayne Johnson fans, and now become Dwayne the Rock Johnson fans when he comes back for a weekend.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh, he's going to do this whole thing. I've never seen wrestling before, but since I've watched 30 of your movies, let me
Yep.
watch this, and I love it. I'm a fan. That happens constantly. You know, it's the sharing of nostalgia we were talking about, the sharing of our roots and our stories and what we just love as, you know, people in entertainment.
I was gonna say that's another thing that like John Cena's been trying to do. He's been trying to like get into movies and acting, and he's actually like he amuses me. I find him funny as hell.
Mm-hmm.
So like I could see him doing the same thing, and it's because other wrestlers had paved the path. Like we can go over to film, and it will be fine.
Well, because everything that wrestlers do are live, one take. They don't
Exactly.
like that's the thing is like when it's like Rawb, when you were telling me like, yeah, I don't do multiple takes. It's one take and it's done. And I'm like, my brain's like, that's very pro wrestling of you. Is that all right?
You're painting me as if I'm just too egotistical. I'll do multiple takes. Yes. My thing is, unless somebody asks me or really requires it, I don't know why I would ever try to do more than one take, because it goes back to trying to perform at your minimum level. Okay. I want my one take to be good enough to satisfy you as a consumer, as somebody who's consuming this art. I want what I can do for 5 minutes to entertain you for 5 minutes, because that means I only have to spend 5 minutes. Yep. If you need me to just remix and spend an hour to make, or 2 hours or 5 hours, an entire week to make 5 minutes of content, that's a hard deal, you know.
I mean, it comes down to like enjoying making content versus enjoying producing content. I like making content. I don't want to produce anything.
I enjoy producing content.
I don't like producing content.
I enjoy producing content. I enjoy making content. I do not enjoy doing content I have done 1,000 times over and over again. But, you know, there's something interesting about that is I enjoy introducing people to the way I used to make content. So I don't even really care about the content we necessarily make as content creators anymore. I just like to go out there with you guys and do anything, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, like if Grumm told me, Rawb, do you want to go put on a WWF wrestling match? I'd be like, let's do it.
Done.
I don't know what to do.
Done.
How can we do this and not hurt ourselves? Also, I'm willing to take some mild body pain for the bit.
I'll commit for the bit. Yeah, I'll commit to the bit.
Just don't 100%. If you're gonna throw me through the table, one take. You don't get two, motherfucker. Make sure the camera's rolling, or we'll have to tell everybody that we did it and it didn't see it.
Yeah.
Yep. Also, not in the face. No face. Like body shots.
You can hit me in the face. That's fine.
No, okay. So Rawb says in the face, but only one table spot, one time. Okay.
You can throw me through as many tables as you want, just not the face.
Okay, not the face. All right, cool. That's good.
Somewhat wrestling related. I used to actually practice falling down.
Oh, same.
So
same.
I used to love this so much. I used to tell my friends, pretend to punch me, and they would pretend to punch me, and then just fly backwards, poof, 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 do like 12 somersaults where you just look like you got thrown across the room. I loved doing that gimmick for my friends because it was fun to do in front of adults and then to overreact.
Oh yeah,
it's just really fun for us to be like, oh my god, he just went fought. Oh, you fucking kids.
Yeah. That's what wrestling is basically grown adults, but they're kind of kids in more than one sense sometimes.
That's what art is.
Yeah. It is. It really
That's what art is. It's grown adults, but somewhat kids in some sense.
So
what it is.
While we wrap up here, any last thoughts from either of you on the Goon?
I think that they could have pushed it way further, personally. Like, they had something. It was like the idea of something, and they didn't know how to go with it. And I think that man could have had a blistering career in the WWE or WCW.
It's very clear to me that the Goon was probably a product of the wrestler themselves. This was probably his idea, and he kind of pitched it. But my God, if the 90s WWF wanted to captivate Canadian audiences, having a hockey player would have worked. Okay?
Yep.
Okay? Because you know what you could have done? God, you could have got him on a team. You could have got him to show up for a few hockey games, man.
Put him in practice.
He just has to go out there and do nothing. He doesn't even have to be a real player, you know? You could have just done the thing where he comes out in the middle of the periods. And comes out and just fights somebody, do a little WWF promo.
Break a stick off something. Yeah, like it.
I was a Canadian. I think for me, it was exposure. I never really got into wrestling because there was nobody I knew that really got into wrestling, so I never really saw it. Yeah, if I had saw this Goon guy, but, you know, something more enticing to the 10, 15-year-old boy in Alberta, I would have been down. I would have been like, yes, let's do this.
Pull off a skate and carve his name in the ice or something.
Oh my God! There's so much they could have done there. Because the thing is, I would imagine they could have leaned into everything Canadian. This guy could have come out and just brought out like maple syrup.
He comes out with a box of Timbits and throws them at the ice.
I cannot wait. I'm bringing the two of you back for another gimmick that was extremely Canadian. Was even more Canadian than this.
Oh, I love it.
Is he dressed up as a beaver?
No.
Is there flannel?
No.
Okay.
Wow. I don't
know.
What
product placement? Is he just a giant Tim Hortons cup? And a little and tell you I don't
No,
want to do this
no,
podcast.
but also they dressed similar to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, okay. So
All
he's
right.
a Mountie.
10-gallon hat.
He's
Got
not
it.
just a Mountie, he's the Mountie, and he always gets his guy.
Dudley Do-Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
is it Dudley Do Right? This
Something
doesn't
like
feel Canadian at all. Mounties don't really connect with most Canadians, I find.
I don't think they
that.
catch many
but
people either.
but it is no, they don't, which is why it's funny. So yeah, I will. You two will be back on a future because this was good. I enjoy like I've had wrestling fans on, and we just make fun of the wrestling and compare it to modern wrestling or compare it to something else wrestling related. Whereas with non-wrestling fans, it's just been this fun. Like we're just gonna talk. We're just
I
gonna
don't want to make fun of this.
Yeah,
First off,
honestly.
I don't like making fun of other things other people like
Yeah.
because I don't like it when they make fun of things I like that they don't understand. I don't
exactly
know
it.
wrestling, dude. Like for somebody who's grown up in wrestling, years and years and years of stuff to know. Like there's lore, there's
there's
stories,
and they're-
moments.
I mean, there was
That's
a
the hardest
Zamboni
thing, too.
earlier. A Zamboni came up in this conversation.
The hardest thing to tell somebody is how you felt when that thing happened.
Yep.
And that's always what probably is the biggest moments for any wrestling fan is how they felt when they saw this shit go down. Wrestling, I've always noticed, has been great for creating those captivating live moments. You know?
And it gives you that moment where you're like, you get to share it with somebody who also felt that way, and you're like, oh damn, we're now
Yeah.
best friends.
Yep.
like
Yeah.
Yep. The
it's
camaraderie.
really cool.
of
Yeah,
it
it's really
all is
cool.
Nice. All right, Pyre.
Yes.
Well, before we go, tell the people where they can find you.
You
at
can
all
find
times.
me. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. Well, in Canada, first of all, but you can find me on Twitter, Empyre TTV. You can also find me on Twitch live. I'm starting to do day streams now, so it was 5 o'clock every day Eastern. Now I'm peppering in Tuesday, Thursday at 12.
There you go.
Little lunchtime streams. So
Okay.
Empyre over on Twitch.
And for
With
the
a
people,
Y.
yes, I was gonna say for the people, it's Empyre, EMPYRE, not Empire as in Empire State Building, but a pyre as in like fire things, but an empire
Right.
of fire.
Which would probably be my wrestling name. I'd probably burn stuff down. I think that'd be pretty
Not be
cool.
bad. Not bad.
Yeah.
The pyre
not
of
bad.
fire.
Yeah, you got it.
I just burn things down. I don't win.
I don't-
I just
don't-
burn. I just burn it.
I don't even go into the ring. I find Vince McMahon's office. I go in there and I burn it down.
Oh, nice.
No.
I wouldn't play one wrestler, Grumm. I would just play 12 characters and keep doing the bit where I come out and get like one punched by whoever's playing today. Get taken away on a stretcher, quick costume change, come out as a completely different character, just turn like a WrestleMania. I'd be a filler wrestler. Okay, they'd be like, we only have 9 people. This isn't enough for WrestleMania. I'd be like, don't worry, my man. I got 12 people to come in out as. Just
And then it
keep
comes
coming
like-
out and losing.
I got 12
Then it comes
gimmicks.
to light. Yeah, it comes to light that you've got 12 gimmicks and it's been 12 people all along, and that's just your gimmick. You're just, the man of 12 faces.
Yeah.
That's great. Let's do wrestling, but you never. It's just one person. the entire
just
thing.
one
Wrestling is
dude.
two
It's two. It's 3 people. It's
Start
the
your
referee.
league by yourself.
It's the. That would be interesting. If like you'd have to shoot it so that like you'd have to have a. There'd
How
have to
would
be a
you
second
shoot
person.
this?
There has to be
You'd
a
have to
second
have a body
person.
double person constantly.
Yeah. At that point, you might as
Oh,
well just get
God.
the second guy. Like, hey, do you want to be an actual
All right.
feature?
If you
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
out there and you are wrestling fans and twins, do I have something to pitch to you guys?
You don't have to look that much alike. Just like passable.
Fraternal
Enough
twins
for
will
the
work.
doubles, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
One of you's got to be able to do a lot of voices. The other one's just got to be a body double. You're
There you
set.
go. There you go. Rob, where can the people find you?
You can find me at rawb.tv. I stream on Wednesdays, and I do a lot of YouTube content. So you can just click one link to follow all the other links. But Grumm, thank you so much for having us, man. This was
Yeah.
a ton of fun, dude.
I
Absolute
haven't laughed
blast.
this hard in a while, man.
Good.
This was good.
Good. I look forward to having the both of you on either together with each other or mixing and matching because that's always there are my 2 passions, wrestling and friends. So
Hey Rob, tag team champs. We wanna come back sometime?
ooh.
Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
cool. Yeah.
Until
All
he
right.
starts doing like the one where it's 2v2s. And it's a game show now live on
Yeah.
Twitch. And what's our tag team name?
I don't know. We got to
We
think
have to
about
work
that.
on this. We'll
Yeah,
figure
we
it
gotta
out
work on
next
that.
next time for next
There
time.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Sounds good, guys. Thank you guys for coming on. It was a blast. I want to thank Rob and Empyre once more for them coming out and enjoying a blast. I think we went about, I think we recorded, I think I cut off about 20 to 30 minutes pre-actual thing. So we sat here and like friends do, you'll sit here, you'll have fun, you'll have a good time, and just be in each other's, company, laughing, having a good time. And this is the first of 2 I recorded this day. So I'm glad I got that stuff on the front end to talk about. Next week is the second of the 2 I recorded on this very day. Next week we're going to have my friends Purple and Citra, also Twitch streamers, to talk about and I'm going to introduce them to The Rock, This Is Your Life, which, again, I've said this before that, I don't want to do too many well-known things, but at the same time, I'm getting people who don't really watch wrestling, so they don't know these well-known ones, right? So showing them these, top of the line, like historic segments like This Is Your Life, which, if you don't know, if you're listening to this, you don't know, is the highest rated segment of all time, and for wrestling, and it went over, just kept going. It's ridiculous. And it's been a while since I saw it in full, and I rewatched it leading up to it. I'm like, yeah, no, we can do this. We can do this on the Dork side. And Purple and Citra Purple in particular brings an interesting perspective and asks some fun questions of me as a wrestling fan so that he can get a better understanding. A lot of fun next week, much like this week's. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for checking out this week's episode of Dork Side. If you liked what you heard today, if this is your first time listening, go back. Listen to the first 3. Listen to the King of the Road match from last week with Jim Jam and Diggy. Listen to the Sting being attacked by dogs with JTR and Crawford. Listen to the first episode, Chucky with Gerp and Panda Pete. These are fun, just interesting. I think they're interesting because it's people who, for the most part, just aren't that well versed in wrestling, or if they are, they don't know this thing that we're watching. They don't know this. We're watching a segment or a match or a character that it's a blind spot for them, because wrestling has been a television product for 40 plus years now. And there's a lot of dumb wrestling, a lot of bad wrestling, a lot of Dork Side quality stuff, and we will talk about it. Next week, episode 5, though, we are talking about Dork Side episode is about This Is Your Life. The Rock. Or The Rock, This Is Your Life. It's a fun, historic segment that kind of tried to be replicated, but never could quite get the authentic, fun reaction out of it. And, so it'll be fun with Citra and Purple. If you liked what you saw as well, follow me on Twitter, follow it on Instagram, at DorksideRing. If you like if you're like TP David, who Macho Man did the great review for. If you want to follow me on my Twitter, my Instagram, I am Grumm. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/tgrumm or just grumm.tv. You can also do us all a solid favor, the podcast, review the podcast, leave a rating for the podcast. 5 stars help that algorithm, help us be discovered. I learned last week that the podcast there's 2 Apple feeds. So like them both. Listen to both. Double the sounds. I like this. I like this idea. I don't know why. I've reached out to my distributor. I haven't heard anything back from him yet. I'm gonna be like, tick tick. Hey, question. Did you get that? Either way. Thank you guys for hanging out. It's a good time every time here on the Dork Side of the Ring. Thank you for visiting me on the Dork Side of the Ring, because wrestling is more fun when no one's taking it seriously. I'll see you guys around. Thank you again. I am Grumm. Enjoy your week and let it be the kind of week that you need.